Welcome to Connecting Communities. I'm your host, Nancy Bacci. With me today is Cory Mashburn, the Director of the Office of Prevention for the city's Health and Human Services Department. Thanks for coming on, Cory.
Thank you, Nancy.
We have an interesting topic today. Somerville participates in National Take Back Day, hosted twice a year. And I would like you, if you can, to explain it to someone as if they know nothing about this opportunity. I think people maybe hear the words Take Back Day or see a little bit of media about it, but maybe don't really understand what the actual opportunity means.
Sure. Well, National Take Back Day, pretty much for us, we want to highlight, we have a take back kiosk in the police department. And mostly what that means is if you have any unexpired or expired meds, any unwanted medications that you don't need, if you had a surgery and you don't need to use the rest of your medications like some of us have, most people do, you can bring it there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's, I think, really important to highlight. The fact that the kiosk and the sharps container exist in the lobby of the police department. There's no need for interaction with staff. You're just able to go in at any time, because the police station never closes, and drop those items off. So that's kind of an ongoing opportunity that you can utilize, but the importance of having these designated take-back days.
Yes, 2 take-back days, April, October. We're lucky enough that we do have the kiosks. Some communities don't, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But really, it's grown into a partnership activity, as we did this year. But it's really to show off the kiosks, one, but the kiosks are there 24/7, and they get emptied probably every 2.5, 3 weeks, which is, that's a lot of medication.
It really is. It's such a valuable resource to the community to have this, because as you said, sometimes there's that sense like, people like, I'll hang on to them, you know, the just in case the pain comes back, or just in case, you know, as we know, but do not recommend. People like, well, maybe so-and-so might, you know, they have something coming up, maybe they may need access. And the reality is having that sort of medication on hand at your home is dangerous for a number of reasons, which we will delve into a little bit more. But having this opportunity to really do a clean out, you know, and I think the timing of it, with it being in April, is always really interesting, because the weather's starting to turn, and, you know, people, I think, feel in that like freshening up mode about their homes and stuff. And I think it's a nice reminder to be like, while you're doing these other things, perhaps putting out your patio furniture, swapping into your spring and summer curtains, you're able to utilize this resource by checking what's in your medicine cabinet. And sometimes, as we all know, things fall to the back a little bit, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even realize I still had that.
Well, and some people say, well, the same thing that you said, you know, why don't I just keep it? You know, and then I say to them, I said, well, it's kind of like food. If you push it back in the refrigerator, what's going to happen? You're going to forget about it, it's going to rot, and it's just going to sit there. So you might as well take it out. People recycle, people donate their clothes, and this and that. It's the same thing, it's clean out. And April, we have the city cleanup too, so it actually coincides.
So it was a very nice idea. You talked a little bit about partnerships. In just a minute, we're going to look at some video footage of the event, which was certainly fun. This year, we have really expanded it with the idea of adding on the safety fair component. Included car seat installations by the police department, which was sponsored by the Somerville Commission for Women. You did a really good job of outreach and engaging with our community partners who work on opioid and other drug issues, and having them table and really give the opportunity for community members to learn about those resources as well. So I think anytime we have the opportunity to expand something like this, if you're having people come in to drop off the meds, it's really a great way while they're here to learn about all of these other resources.
And when we talk about medication abuse or any abuse, it's pretty much, it's about risk and protective factors. What do you have in your city that's going to help you not use drugs? And what are those things that are going to pretty much force you to use drugs or make you think about it? And that's what the safety fair was about. It was put together by staff from the Health and Human Services Department. And we usually just highlight the kiosk, but there's so much more to this. And I think we'll see it in the video clip.
Yeah, it was a great partnership. Why don't we take a look at the video? We are here today in the lobby of the Public Safety Building located at 220 Washington Street as part of National Take Back Day. Each year, the city twice a year partners and highlights the opportunity to return unwanted and expired medications. This year, we have decided to increase the offerings here with a number of partner organizations who are tabling and interacting with the community, as well as providing residents the opportunity to interact with police, fire, and ambulance staff. One of the new initiatives this year is a partnership with the Somerville Commission for Women, which has resulted in an increase in the number of car seat installations happening this year. We encourage anyone at all times to return any unwanted or expired medications at the kiosks located in the lobby of the Public Safety Building, which are available to the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
We work to ensure the equal status of all women in the city of Somerville. We're really excited about some of the events we have coming up this year. Next a week from Tuesday or Wednesday, May 10th, we've got an event coming up called 50-50 Day. It's rethinking the history of women in power, and we're really excited to engage our community members, men and women, all ages, in conversation about the status of women in the world and how we can make an impact in our local community. And after May, we're going to continue those conversations, and we invite all community members out to join us at the Somerville Commission for Women meetings, which happen the third Tuesday of every month here at the police station. So come out and join the conversation.
Hi, my name is Erica. I'm the coordinator of Shape Up Somerville, and I'm here today at Somerville Take Back Day. We've got a couple different items that we're promoting. We've got our placemats with park information and fun health activities. These came from the PEP grant at the schools. We've got the Mayor's Wellness Challenge, which this year is the Parks Pass. You can pick it up at the Central Library or at City Hall. You can also print some online, and during the month of May, for all the parks that you visit, put a sticker in your Parks Pass, return it back, and be eligible to win a prize. We've also got some really important bike safety information. A lot of this goes out with your parking permit mailer, so if you see it, you'll know what to look for and know how to keep both yourself and bicyclists safe in the city if you're a driver, or how to interpret all the different bike markings that we have. And finally, we have the Somerville Mobile Farmers Market, which is coming up starting on July 14th. We have 4 sites around Somerville, really affordable, fresh, great produce, all from local Massachusetts farms.
Hi, good morning. I'm Maureen Foster. I'm with the Alex Foster Foundation. Our foundation was formed after the death of our son Alex to opioid addiction. And since then we've been trying to raise awareness, we've been trying to educate people about addiction, and we've also been trying to support people. We have a Hopeful Backpack project, and we brought a sample here. We've been distributing backpacks to people living on the street or people living in shelters. We've spoken at many things. We now have a GRASP support group, and that's grief recovery after a substance passing. And we meet once a month at Column Health in Davis Square. You can find us on Facebook if you like, Alex Foster Foundation. And the support group is for people who have lost a loved one to addiction. Which is a very kind of specific kind of grief. So people have found it very helpful, other people who have lost someone. This represents these are all people who have died of addiction, and it represents approximately the number of people who would die in 72 hours in the United States of America today. So it's quite a large number, and this shows you the names and the faces of some of the people who have died. Some of them are local, some of them are all across the country.
We have local organizations here giving input, information, but we also have 2 kiosks here at the police station. One is for pills and one is for needles, and that's mostly what we're here for. We want people to get rid of the meds that they're not using or the ones that are expired. Today, so far, we have gotten close to 300 pill bottles from the community. So please know that the kiosks are 24/7, and they're always at the police station.
Snapshot of what was an event that lasted over the course of several hours, had some different community interactions as we saw. I think it's really nice to speak to the partnership that is a huge component of this, right? So it was held at the Public Safety Building, which houses our police and fire departments. Yep. Cataldo Ambulance also was there, you know, in the sense of having a fire truck and, you know, an ambulance there for families to interact with, but also to ask some of the tougher questions as well. You know, our first responders are the people who are really at the front line of this sort of crisis. And when they're coming on scene, you know, they're dealing with that in a very professional manner and doing what their job entails. But the reality is they're community members too, so it has a definite impact. So having these staff available, I think, was really helpful. I spoke with one community member who asked a question of the Cataldo staff person, just saying, you know, wanting to know a little bit more about their approach when they respond to a scene where there's a suspected overdose. And, you know, having the opportunity to ask those things, there's a sense of privacy when you're doing that. And I think I really liked the increased factors in it this year, like the more engagement opportunities. We saw the Foster Foundation, who is a very strong partner as well. I know we had Somerville Overcoming Addiction in attendance. Really a nice turnout with people. One thing, we saw the footage of Officer Marianne Manfra kind of sorting through what looked to be a sea of pill bottles, but I really think that speaks to the importance of this. One of the partnerships which you helped to grow this year was with the Council on Aging, realizing that for a lot of our seniors, they are holding medications in their homes for a number of reasons. And this really provides the opportunity. I mean, they're able to come out. It was really kind of great to see them hopping off the Council on Aging bus and coming in with their bags and really being part of the process, because we're not going to give it away yet. But the amount in tonnage that was turned in was pretty impressive. So it was nice to chat with them a little bit and have them really see a different level of engagement with the process, as opposed to just kind of like turning them in. They're turning them in, they're watching them, you know, go into the thing, they're talking with people at the tables to really find out the importance of maintaining safety in your home, which means a lot of things. You know, even if you live alone, you have friends, relatives, people who are coming over to your homes, and that sometimes opens the door for people who are struggling with addiction to access medication that they shouldn't be getting their hands into.
Yeah, a lot of people think, you know, it's all about the kids. Don't let the kids get it.
Right.
And they usually forget about the other end.
Right.
And back in the day, I mean, like when my mom was in high school or this and that, they didn't have kiosks. And mostly it was just, we're going to keep the meds, this and that. And it's education. It's the same thing with educating the youth when they're little. It's same thing with the senior citizens and all that. It's actually a multifaceted. As you said, it was Cataldo, fire, police, schools, every element in the city. And hopefully in the next coming years we'll make it even bigger.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it's that sense. One area that there has been improvement, I do want to talk a little bit about the work that the Office of Prevention and Somerville Cares About Prevention has been doing on this topic. But one area that real strides have been made is in working with hospitals, physicians, and other healthcare organizations to reduce the amount of prescribed medication. That, I think, is so important. I mean, you and I have talked about this, and we've heard from so many community members. The default mechanism was kind of like, okay, you're having dental surgery, and nobody wants to be in pain. I am completely supportive of appropriate pain management. But the reality is you would get what would be a kind of large prescription to manage that. And, you know, you want to find the balance between, you don't want to underprescribe and have someone in serious pain when they're not able to access healthcare services, but you also don't want to have such an amount prescribed that, you know, your pain is gone. And the reality is, what do you do with the pills? Put them in the medicine cabinet just in case, and then you're allowing other things to potentially develop. So
Let's either leave them in the medicine cabinet, put them down the toilet.
Oh, don't do that. The water supply.
I mean, just think about the water that you take baths, showers, you drink. That's where they're going. I mean,
right. So having this, again, the idea of having the kiosk available that people can access at any time. And I think in some instances, you know, it's great that we highlight these 2 days because there is the increased opportunity for information and resource sharing. But I think the fact that helping to publicize that it's always there. So, you know, when you finish a course of medication, you're out running errands, just swing in, pull right in the lot, put them in. It doesn't take any interaction with anyone. You know, you're not going to get bogged down in it. It's a standalone thing. No one's asking you for your name. You're just disposing of the items.
Totally anonymous. And I think for us in the Office of Prevention, we're really working on highlighting that, but we're also working on getting more kiosks in the city, such as at pharmacies, places that people get medication, just to make it a lot easier, because some people don't want to go to the police department. And I think that's another thing that this event does. It makes you see that the police department is a good place. It's a safe place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the support of the officers too. You know, we had them kind of wandering around during the event a little bit and talking to the community members, and just the visibility, I think. You know, really understanding, as a community resident, this is your building. It's the public safety building. It's intended for all to get in and utilize as needed. So I think it's important, and it speaks to the ongoing partnerships that we continue to develop with other city departments. You look ahead when you have National Night Out coming up in August, and the reality is these are the partner agencies that are helping to support that too. So it's nice to continue to grow and evolve those relationships.
It actually, it is. I mean, I think National Night Out has grown into that, but I think it's nice to have, well, we'll have 3 events around drug prevention specifically. So it'll be positive.
That's great. So a little bit more about the work of the Office of Prevention. If you want to start with Somerville Cares About Prevention and the youth work, I think might be helpful.
Yeah, so Somerville Cares About Prevention really works on youth prevention. It really works on getting more protective factors in the city and making sure that that youth know what a protective factor and a risk factor is. But when they go home away from school, they're also at home with their parents. So we try to educate the parents around multiple factors. It doesn't have to be drug abuse. It could be bullying. It could be mental health, violence and safety. The whole Office of Prevention really, it's a multifaceted: prescription drugs, youth prevention, marijuana prevention now, tobacco prevention. If there is a hot topic in the city, we're probably working on something to make sure people are educated about it, but making sure that they know the right facts and not just the stuff that they see on the internet.
So I always like to take the chance whenever we are able to highlight the work of the youth. So can you talk a little bit about SPF and SPF Junior?
Sure. SPF is Somerville Positive Forces. We have a high school group and a middle school group, and they work during the school year, and they really push our prevention efforts. They go into the schools, they do campaigns and projects. They helped us change the health curriculum at the high school.
Which is amazing.
It's the youth voice. And now we have the same curriculum at the middle school and the high school. So it's continuation. But really, we really push to have the youth have a voice. And they should. Because as we've seen from our youth risk behavior survey data, that's their data, and they should be able to present it, tell people some different ways to improve it, and what they need assistance on.
That's great. Another thing that sometimes gets a bit of visibility in the community is Kick Butts Day. So walk through for us what that looks like, because I know when it happened this past time, there was definitely a couple people who are going up to City Hall to access services and were kind of looking over their shoulder, and I was like, just ask questions.
Well, Kick Butts Day is pretty much means it's pretty much youth prevention against tobacco products. We've kind of made it tobacco and other drugs, just because it's a multifaceted approach. But pretty much we put slogans and different type of phrases up at City Hall on the sidewalks, near the high school, near the main library, and pretty much the youth are doing it. And they do have adults come up and ask them, why are you doing this? What does this mean? And again, it's giving them voice. We had a newspaper there. Sometimes we have the TV crew there. So it's really getting their word out in multiple areas.
I think that's important to emphasize, because, you know, we as adults, or, you know, the quote-unquote experts in these fields, we certainly have our own thoughts and ideas to create a vision for the work. But the reality is, while it's impacting us in one way, it's really impacting the young people in a completely different way. And the reality is, you know, they're getting health education in school, they're receiving information at home from their parents. But, you know, think back to when we were younger. Your news source was your peers. You know, so the fact that this creates such a sense of empowerment for young people and really puts them in the role of peer educators. You know, it's a wonderful leadership development model, but it really, I think, just allow so much more access. You know, kids are just talking as they're talking. They're talking during school, during class, at lunch, whenever. And having young people who are so well versed in these topics, I think just invites the discussion to continue.
And I think because we do have a middle school group, we see it. We've seen some kids go from 6th grade to graduate.
Yes.
And they've been all throughout. So, and we've seen, you know, we see the shyest kid at 6th grade become the greatest public speaker.
Yes.
By senior. So it is a youth development model. It's great. It's run by Lovely Heller, which she's been here for about 11 years doing it. So, you know, we like where it's going, and we're even looking to go younger. So
That's great.
we'll see.
Well, we do hear a lot of the national data recommends talking about these issues with children as young as 2nd grade.
Yes.
So it's a tricky road to navigate, and it's nice to have the support of the city as well as I said, all of these partner organizations to really bring this issue to the forefront and realize it's something that we all need to continue to talk about.
Yes.
No one can adopt the attitude, you know, it doesn't happen to me or it's not in my family. And, you know, sadly, we all know someone who has been impacted by this in some way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah, people just need to be open. They need to be open to new ideas and education, and they don't need to fear it. Because, like you said, it's out there.
Right.
Things are happening. So let's be open and let's be educated about what our world is.
So now, as we look ahead to October, right? So we just had the very successful Take Back Day in April. We're going to get to the numbers in just a minute. Looking ahead to October, how do we continue to grow the event, increase partnership, provide this really important information, increase the pounds of drugs that are brought in? How do we do it all?
I think that for us, we talked about it after the event in April, and we think that we always highlight the kiosk, which is great, but we want to highlight our partners too. So like the pharmacies, that's one of we want to get the kiosks in the pharmacies too. So we were thinking about using the pharmacies, maybe their parking lots, to make it look like more of a festival, and people don't have to go into the police department, and maybe it's by a park. Bring in local donations from restaurants for food, make it a nice day. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the potential is always to continue to grow events. We've got feedback from our partner organizations, you know, what worked, what they'd like to see done differently, and I think really taking the approach, we're all in this together. And I know it sounds like a cliche throwaway line, but the reality is it takes all of these components working on it to make any sort of hope to get towards a solution for this.
Yes.
I mean, I love one of Chief Fallon's lines and things is, you know, you can't arrest your way out of a problem.
No.
And the reality is you can't. You need to institute cultural and societal change. So these sort of things with increasing the visibility, I think even when we had people, you know, as we were walking around during the event and going outside, you had people who were slowing down their cars and looking, reading the sign and wondering what the balloons were about. So even if those people didn't walk through the door that day, they know that this potential exists.
Tons of people also, when they brought the medications, they didn't know it was there 24/7.
Yeah.
They just thought, okay, it's the day of.
Yeah, I think that's important. The other thing I did want to mention as well is we did have a site at the Teal Square Fire Station as well. So, you know, really trying to site these drop-off locations for people's convenience. You know, having it on a Saturday, the hope is that people are out kind of doing other things and, you know, running errands or taking family or children to different activities in the hope that it would just become part of what you do that day. You know, and I think that's what you spoke about a little bit too, the sense of people being open to learning about this. I mean, we have our ongoing Stamp Out Stigma work, which is really about making it okay to talk about all of this and realizing that a lot of the barriers for people to seek successful treatment is concern about others' perceptions of them.
Very much so.
And I mean, it's a tough topic, and none of us are saying, you know, it's easy to just kind of put it all out there, but the reality is we're fortunate that we have the resources that we do in Somerville. I mean, one of the things that makes me most proud to live here and work here is that we don't hide from anything. You know, any of the issues that are thorny or difficult to tackle, we're right out there doing it because it impacts our residents and our community. And I think Mayor Curtatoni's willingness to support these sort of endeavors really speaks to the fact that everyone is valued in this community.
Yeah, and just like the youth have a voice, the residents should have a voice too.
Oh, most definitely.
And that's why we do our jobs. So it's for the residents.
So I want to talk a little bit of the hard numbers. So let's talk car seat installations, which was hugely successful. It was a great partnership between the Somerville Commission for Women and the Police Department. Total number of car seats installed.
25.
25 in a 3-hour period.
Yeah, which is great.
Absolutely amazing. And I do want to take an opportunity to give a shout out to one of my staff, Chris Hosman, who is the staff to the Somerville Commission for Women, was so invested in promoting this. He took flyers and walked down to Target and was circulating in the area where car seats are sold and encouraging people to come to the safety fair and have their car seats checked. Was at the exit just kind of grabbing people as they were doing it. And we had the opportunity to talk with a family who came for it. And the gentleman was just like, I had no idea about Take Back Day. I didn't know there were kiosks. He's like, but this really enthusiastic guy was just like, come down. You know, you can almost see it from the parking lot. Let's just go right down there, have them check your safety seat, find out all this information. And I mean, this family visited every single table. They were just like, this is amazing. And these are residents, I think they said they had been here a little over 2 years. So 2 years and had this level of engagement with this that if you didn't have the one-on-one connection wouldn't have even happened.
Yeah, I thought the car seat installation was a great addition, and Chris brought tons of energy.
Yeah.
And that's great, honestly, especially at events. You need energy.
Yeah, that's half the battle. Let's talk about the total amount of drugs turned in.
We had 119 pounds.
I will say, as someone who was watching it happen, it was kind of amazing because I don't always have the easiest time converting like measurements into things, but when you saw just the volume of the bottles and the amounts of pills, and you know, people are bringing in everything. They're bringing in over-the-counter expired Tylenol. They're bringing in antibiotics, all these things, and to realize all of that accumulation ended up at 100+ pounds.
Oh yeah. Well, and think about that. They empty that kiosk every 2.5, 3 weeks.
I know.
So imagine how much drugs are coming off the street.
Yeah, it's really amazing. As we come to a close, I do just want to ask you to provide a little bit of detail about a question that we've got several times. People had questions about disposing of liquid medication. Now that is not accepted at the kiosk. The kiosk is pills and sharps containers. So if someone has liquid medication to dispose of, what's the safe way to do that?
The safest way is to use kitty litter or coffee grounds, pour it into there, and then you can put it in the trash.
Yes. I think that's important to mention. People did have questions about that because the reality is that you don't want to just pour it down your sink and you don't want to just dispose of it because someone could pick it up from the trash.
Yeah.
Or it could, harm someone in a different way, and just understanding that. So we had a couple of people ask about that. I think that's important information to share. So I did want to thank you so much for coming on and taking this opportunity to really share the important work that's being done, from the Health and Human Services Department, really in collaboration with all of our partners to make things like Take Back Day such a huge success. And I look forward to having you back on in the summertime as we start to talk about National Night Out and find ways for the community to get involved with that as well.
I can't wait.
Great, thank you. As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine and George Wood. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.